Emily Thompson lived in a quiet suburb just outside Seattle, in a cozy house with her husband Daniel and their golden retriever, Scooby. Daniel worked as a project manager for a construction company and traveled frequently for work. Emily, a freelance graphic designer, worked from home and found comfort in Scooby's company whenever Daniel was away. For years, their routine was predictable. Daniel would pack his suitcase, kiss Emily goodbye, and Scooby would wag his tail as if to wish him safe travels. Emily never minded being alone. She enjoyed the quiet, the chance to read, and the gentle sound of Scooby's paws following her from room to room. But one fall evening, something changed. It started subtly. As soon as Daniel's car disappeared down the driveway, Scooby began pacing near the living room window. His ears were perked, his tail stiff, his body alert. Emily assumed he was missing Daniel, but when the behavior repeated every time her husband left, she began to worry. Scooby would bark toward the back door late at night and refuse to leave her side, sleeping restlessly near her bedroom door as if guarding her. One Friday night, Emily sat curled up on the couch, sketching on her tablet. The house was silent except for the ticking clock and the sound of Scooby breathing softly nearby. Then, without warning, he stood up and started growling lowly toward the back door. Emily froze. The hair on the back of her neck rose. She turned off the lamp, heart pounding, and listened. There it was, a faint noise, like a soft metallic clink, coming from outside. She tiptoed toward the door, Scooby following close behind, his eyes locked on the dark yard. Emily peered through the glass. Nothing. The motion sensor light flicked on suddenly, startling her. But when she looked again, the yard was empty. For the next few nights, Scooby's behavior grew stranger. Every evening after Daniel's departure, the dog would guard the same spot near the back door, occasionally barking at seemingly nothing. Emily tried to calm him, thinking it was raccoons or stray cats. But Scooby wasn't fooled. He barked only when Daniel was gone, and only at night. Out of curiosity, Emily began keeping a small journal, noting Scooby's behavior. Tuesday, growled at 9:43 p.m. Wednesday, barked at the kitchen door. Thursday, refused to go outside. It became a strange routine. Then came the night that changed everything. Daniel had flown to Chicago that morning, and Emily decided to treat herself to a movie marathon. Around 11 p.m., Scooby began pacing again. He ran to the back door and growled. Emily, now uneasy, whispered, "It's okay, boy." But the dog didn't calm down. Instead, he bolted to the front door and barked sharply, then back to the kitchen. It was as if he was tracking someone moving outside the house. Emily grabbed her phone and turned on the flashlight, peering out through the window blinds. She caught a glimpse of something, or someone, moving near the fence. A shadow. Her breath hitched. She quickly locked all doors and windows, her heart hammering in her chest. Scooby stayed alert, his body rigid, his gaze fixed on the backyard. The next morning, she found footprints in the soft dirt behind the fence. They weren't Daniel's. They were large, boot-shaped, and fresh. Panic washed over her. She called the police, who examined the area but didn't find much evidence beyond the footprints. They assured her it was likely a delivery person or someone passing by. Still, Emily couldn't shake the unease. Determined to get to the bottom of it, she installed a small camera near the kitchen window facing the backyard. She told no one, not even Daniel, who she didn't want to worry. For the next week, she kept checking the footage daily, seeing nothing unusual. Scooby's behavior calmed slightly, and Emily began to think maybe she'd overreacted. But one night, the barking returned, louder, more urgent than before. Emily raced to her laptop and opened the camera feed. Her hands trembled as she pressed play. The timestamp showed 2:13 a.m. The footage was grainy, but she could clearly see movement. A figure near the fence, crouched low, trying to peer into the window. The man was wearing dark clothing and a cap. She gasped, covering her mouth. Scooby's instincts had been right all along. Someone had been watching her. Emily called the police immediately. They arrived within minutes and took the footage as evidence. They increased patrols in her neighborhood and advised her to stay cautious. That night, she held Scooby close, tears in her eyes. "You knew," she whispered, "you were trying to protect me." A few days later, the police identified the intruder. He was a former maintenance worker from the housing company who had been dismissed months earlier for suspicious behavior. He had apparently targeted homes he once serviced, assuming they were easy marks. Thanks to Scooby's vigilance and Emily's quick thinking, he was caught before he could harm anyone. When Daniel returned home, he hugged Emily tightly. You should have told me sooner, he said, relief flooding his face. Scooby wagged his tail proudly, as if understanding his hero status. From that day on, Emily never doubted Scooby's instincts again. Whenever Daniel left for work, Scooby stayed close, still guarding but calmer now, as though he knew his job was done. Life slowly returned to normal. Emily would sometimes glance out at the yard and remember the fear she'd once felt, but now she felt gratitude. Gratitude for her loyal companion who had protected her when she hadn't even realized she needed protection. One evening months later, Daniel surprised her with a new dog tag for Scooby that read, "Hero of the House." Emily laughed and hugged him, tears of happiness in her eyes. That night, as the three of them sat together by the fireplace, Scooby rested his head on Emily's lap, his eyes peaceful. The storm had passed, but the bond they shared had only grown stronger. In the end, Scooby wasn't just a pet, he was family, protector, and silent guardian of the home.